So Russell is the co-founder of FusionSpark Media right here in lovely Langley. It's a cute little building with some wisteria out front that I like to play in. He's worked in all aspects of digital storytelling and content marketing. He's a photographer and a videographer to content strategies and new media consultant. So he consults. That means you get paid for like sitting in your office, right?
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Pretty much it.
Right, that's good. So Russell has jumped out of airplanes, been scuba diving in scary caves with octopuses, even attacked by a venomous snake. But the scariest experience of his life was working for the Langley City Council. And I went to one of those meetings, I understand. Whoa. So you're done with that now, right?
How many people have heard about Prezi? About what? Prezi. P-R-Z-I. That's actually a pretty good show of hands there. All right.
Hey, Russell, am I done?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay,
where are you heading back to do?
I'm going to go check out the sandwiches.
Find mushrooms or something? Or what?
No, the sandwiches are here, I think.
The sandwiches are here,
yeah.
okay. We did an accurate count, so.
Okay, no problem. You see a little bite in the left-hand corner. Don't worry, it wasn't me. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nimble. I'm going to talk about the idea that content marketing begins with content strategy. To do this, you need to know where you're going from the outset. So as I mentioned, for those who are new to Prezi, I'm doing this presentation in Prezi, and you'll see some things like zooms. You'll see some rotates. I've been, fairly conservative in those movements because I don't want anybody getting seasick in the audience, which can happen. In terms of my background, I've worked in just about every aspect of this content ecosystem. My background's as a photographer, got into videography, started doing interactive digital storytelling. That segued into really trying to figure out, well, how am I going to sell what it is I want to do? And that kind of led into us becoming content strategists, new media consultant, and more recently, in the past couple of years, a content marketing evangelist. Over the years, we've done quite a lot of projects, and this is just a collection of a few. We've done product sites for B2B and B2C clients. We've done environmental sites for government clients, like the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. We did for the DDB ad agencies issues and advocacy group. We did a really cool interactive for a project they did with a group of partners. We've done major nonprofit websites, American Liver Foundation, and we've done, using storytelling actually, some interesting learning and teaching tools for corporations like Wyeth. So I have 11 years of working in content strategy and content creation, and that work has given me an appreciation for this aspect of content, and that is that it's really like gold. Okay, you'll hear it in the blogosphere, people say content is king. I say, off with the head of that analogy. It's a really bad analogy. It was a good analogy back when the content owners were major studios like Universal and major newspaper conglomerates, et cetera. But now we are the creators and providers of content. Whether the person who's going to approve spending it is yourself or your business partner or the CEO of your company or CMO, the important thing about the concept of content is gold is to get across the idea that it is an investment. Okay, and as you invest in content, it actually does have quite a long-lasting sort of evergreen value, particularly if it's quality content from the outset. I like the idea that this guy's wearing a funky suit. He's also levitating off the ground, so we got that spark there. But it's conductive. Think of the conductivity factors or qualities of gold. Content is also conductive. If you think of it in terms of, hey, a really good, strong blog post can conduct awareness of you throughout the blogosphere. It's also like currency. Content can be shared. It can be traded. It can be leveraged in business relationships in different ways. It's malleable like gold. How many different things is gold made into, right? And your content is very malleable as well. Something that may start out as a text blog can end up becoming the basis for a podcast, can end up becoming the basis for a presentation at an event, and so forth and so on. It's your marketing bling. accessorize your company with your content. And gold has always, throughout history, it's always been symbolic of status and influence. And so think of the quality content that you'll create as giving that to your business. And it runs in veins. You know, you can think of it in terms of the way that gold is mined and then used in all these different ways. Well, your ongoing blog series and whatnot, those effectively become like veins of gold. The way that I look at it is that gold is a bright, shiny metal. But the past few years, there's been another sort of bright, shiny object that's kind of kept us all excited, and that's been social media. But I think the problem with a lot of the focus and the excitement on social media has been more of a focus on the channel as opposed to what you're putting down the channel. Now, just out of curiosity, I did a search for the exact quote of social media, and you get 61,100,003 returns. Now, what's interesting about that is just the way that really points out the amount of interest that's in quote-unquote social media. And that gets people very, very stressed, right? Who has set up their Facebook account for the business or their Twitter account for the business and been spending time on it and begin wondering, why am I doing this? And what am I missing out on? So I'm coming with a message about social media, and that is, don't panic, okay? We're going to get through this, and we're going to get through this together. And part of the way we're going to get through it is starting to focus on content marketing and content. I was quite encouraged to see on December 1st when the CEO of eMarketer stated in an article titled, For 2001, Content Marketing is Critical. And here's my take on that as it's related to content strategy. Content strategy plus social media is content marketing. I mean, a lot of what we were talking about this morning, you know, realistically at a very feasible level would not be possible were it not for the social media channels, okay? Not many of us could afford to do a monthly magazine as was done for decades by members of the custom publishing group. But we are empowered now to reach out to our own audiences through the social media channels, but we need to know what we're going to talk about. But the beauty of content strategy is it gives us a way to bring focus to our content marketing endeavors. One of the first things that we're going to want to do as we start bringing focus to our content strategy and our content marketing work is identify what's our story. What is your unique, as Joe has said, what's your special sauce? Now, the next few things I'm going to talk about are really kind of like characteristics and qualities of what I think you want to be aware of as you start working on your content strategy. So one is identifying what's your story. The second is recognizing the long-lasting value of very, very high-quality content. So, for example, I don't know how old the Mona Lisa is, but you know, it's an image we're all familiar with. It's content we're all familiar with. But it's been repurposed in many different interesting ways, okay? So your content, this gets back to that malleability because one of the things that you really need to be cognizant of is the fact that your content needs to flow across multiple platforms. And you need to be planning for that from the outset of your content strategy. Your content strategy and your content is how you establish yourself as an authority about your product or your service or your cause. And I'm not talking about top-down authority like, you know, the police. I'm talking about an authoritative figure like your physician, your doctor. You trust, more or less you trust them. You go to them for advice. You seek their information, i.e. their content, about how well you're doing. And you want to begin working on establishing that kind of rapport with your own clients. One reason that you want to do that is that through the process of being a publisher and doing whatever it is you choose to do, whether it's video blogs or written blogs or what have you, you want to establish yourself as a definitive resource. You want to be that company, that resource, what have you, that everybody else is talking about by saying, oh, you want to know about that widget? Well, you need to go to Acme Company because they've got the best content on that question. Okay, so you want to become an authoritative, definitive resource. And why is that? Because when you have that content out there, okay, it puts you in a position to be found, and people are out there looking for you. Now, they're not looking for you by your company name, obviously, with branding initiatives, et cetera. Yeah, people are looking for your brand, but people are more importantly looking for things that are relevant to their own headaches and their own concerns and their own interests. And you want to be positioned through your content to be found. And then the other important aspect of this is you want to go into this with the knowledge that you are going to take steps to measure the responses to your content. So those are some qualities that I wanted to just talk about in terms of content strategy. And now I want to talk about some very specific activities and steps. Now, this is really condensed down. There's a lot more to this than what I can present here in a 15-minute presentation. But I'm going to talk about, so what I want to point out is that there are 3 key activities. There's your communications audit. What are you currently doing now? There's a discovery phase and analysis, which is what do you need to know to move forward? And then there's the actual content strategy development. It's actually putting the plan into writing, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about 2 out of those 3. I'm not really going to talk much about the communications audit. What I want to point out is that in the discovery phase and analysis, some things that you can fairly easily do, they're fairly low level, that you can knock off, is identify what are your desired outcomes, identify what are your target audiences, and identify what are your target audience needs. And when you've done that little exercise, you're going to prioritize and prioritize and prioritize, okay? Pick out 1, 2 things that you can do. That's one reason why you're going to prioritize, because you're going to map your content development to achieving those priorities, the priority desired outcomes, priority target audiences, and the priority needs. And I have a case study I'm going to show in terms of how that works. And that's with a client of ours, Dive Rite. They're about a $6 million a year technical scuba gear manufacturer, so a very sort of niche outdoor sport-related company. They were established in 1984. They really were the original. A lot of the designs that you see for this technical diving is based on their original designs. But by 2007, they were virtually invisible on the web. They had made some really bad missteps. They had an all-flash site. It was impossible to update. Their Google rankings were non-existent. It was so bad that they were number 3 or 4 down on the front page of Google Resorts for their brand name. And competitors had stepped in and filled the vacuum. So I'm going to go through a few of the things to emphasize how we worked with them through some of those points. So one priority desired outcome was regain reputation as a pioneer designer of technical scuba gear. And their priority target audience was the hardcore technical divers. These were people that they could not BS. And what that particular audience needed, that they knew this audience needed, was they needed to know more about Dive Rite's backstory, particularly in relationship to cave diving. So what we did, we came up with an historical timeline about cave diving. It actually goes back to like 1600s up to current day. And Dive Rite appears in 1984, and guess what? We have the incorporation date of all their competitors who happen to come in after 1984. By the way, competitors who are out there saying, oh, we were the first to do this and that. Well, no, Dive Rite was actually the first. A neat little side note on that is that we watch, remember I was saying with the Google Analytics screen, you're going to measure. So we were able to watch them pick up traffic because this content was getting indexed for their competitors' names. So it was actually kind of interesting. Another priority desired outcome was to become the go-to resource for technical diving information, become the definitive resource, establish themselves as an authority. And again, same hardcore tech diver audience. This audience needed expert advice solutions. Lamar Hires is the owner of Dive Rite. When he goes to the dive conventions, the guy it's like rock star status. He's mobbed with people that want to ask him questions about their dive gear configurations. So we came up with the idea of creating the virtual Lamar. And the first part of that was an interactive database-driven solution finder. And then last year, we launched the Dive Rite TV channel for them. So, and they have already over 40 videos of Lamar Hires explaining how to do gear configurations. The next desired outcome was to inspire divers to get further training. So they want to move scuba divers up from rec divers up to recreational divers up to the technical diving level. And so they really, so we identified the influentials, right? Who are the technical scuba divers out there that are doing really remarkable expeditions and things? So we have feature stories about divers who are supported by Dive Rite gear. And those are ambassador stories, and events are popular. And so they've created a whole series of tech tours. And then they do articles and videos from the tech tours, et cetera. Now, they are a manufacturer, and they're B2B. They sell primarily to dealers. And of course, this is a marketing exercise. They need to sell products. And what we did was we worked on a product catalog, which is really, pretty amazing. It's got very, very high resolution product photography that you can zoom into. But more importantly, the catalog content was written in a way that was inspiring. And we also have links. It's kind of hard to see, but we have a link to video. While you're on this page, you can pull up any video that's tagged with this particular product, and it'll show you how to set it up, et cetera. And then they wanted to get some more consumer interaction and with customer interaction. And what we ended up doing was creating for them a photo contest in which the winners of the photo contest would see their photos featured in an ad. And they also got some gear and stuff. But this is a type of an audience that would be like just thrilled to see their underwater photo from inside a cave, in a cave used in such a way in an advertisement. So that worked out really well. And so we've ended up helping them come up with kind of a vision for what a content marketing editorial calendar will look like for them. And it's important to note, for example, that daily they don't do anything on Twitter. Their target audience really isn't on Twitter. So they just don't even really worry about that. But they are busy. They do, when they produce their videos, they do post them onto Facebook. They've grown in just a year and a half, maybe 2 years, to about over 3,000 people as Facebook fans now. But you can see they have a full schedule of daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. So let me get into some of the numbers associated with this. As I mentioned, 2007 was when we started with them with this content marketing program. Top, that's the status that Dive Rite's regained as a recognized tech dive gear designer and manufacturer. 1, 2, and 3 Google ranking positions for many of their top keywords and phrases. 65, that's the percentage of unique visitor growth post-launch in the first year. Triple, that's the amount of Dive Rite referrals compared to referrals from other dive gear manufacturers that convert to sales on their top dealers, online dealer's site. Pretty significant. Less, that's the amount of time that they're spending on customer service calls. They're able to handle a lot of that through those videos, for example. 15 versus 7. People that are clicking through from Dive Rite to the dealer's site are spending 15 minutes on that dealer's site versus 7 on average of other referrals. Increased is the way that they describe the amount of new quality dealers. Nearly 0 is the amount that they've spent since 2007 on traditional ads, PR, and trade shows. So a lot of this has been through this word-of-mouth engagement. 2 is the number of inquiries about buying advertising on diverite.com. So yeah, that really drives home the point of thinking and acting like a publisher. And I predicted that to them that would happen in 2007, and that happened last year, so I was excited about that. 1, that's the size of the marketing staff. Her name is Kathleen Byers. And 2, it's the number of babies Kathleen has had since the program started in 2007. So this is all doable. This is all in reach if you have a plan, if you have a strategy for doing it. This was picked up as a story in PR News. And I like this quote of Kathleen's. That's her in the center. Incredibly, once you plant this content garden, it starts to bear fruit, and you watch as your community begins doing the marketing for you. We believe Dive Rite would not have weathered the recent economic storm as well as we did without the content strategy we implemented. So again, this stuff does work. Thank you for your time. Here's some contact information for me.